and welcome to Law and Order. My name is Martia Umar. Today we will be talking about domestic violence, but with a deeper look at intimate partner abuse in Nigeria, which has become a public health problem with far-reaching consequences. Incidents of domestic violence in Nigeria include battery, beatings, torture, acid baths, rape, and consequently death. It is, however, estimated that approximately 1 in every 3 women suffers domestic violence and intimate partner violence from the hands of those who claim to love and supposedly protect them. So in this episode of Law and Order, we'll be taking a look at spousal abuses and resultant deaths, the possible triggers, what goes on in the mind of the abuser, the red flags to look out for, and options available for victims and perpetrators alike. But before we get into the conversation proper, let's take a look at this video where survivors of domestic violence share their story. Do stay with us. Intimate partner abuse, a form of domestic violence, has eaten deep into the fabric of Nigerian society. Many women in this part of the world have suffered one form of this abuse or the other. Selma is only 27 years old. She's divorced and has 2 children. She suffered 5 years of abuse in the hands of her husband.
To muna zaman lafiya sai ya ce shi ba abinci, sai da nayi wata 6 ban daura tukunyata ba, ban daura abinci a tukunyata ba. Nazo haka dai ya fara zagi na. Da ya fara zagi na, mama na, ƴan uwana ba sa zuwa, in ba ni da lafiya dukkan su ya hana su zuwa. In na je asibiti na kai yarinya sai ya bi ni da duka a cikin asibiti, yana tattaka ni, ya dinga min dai zagin rashin mutunci. Uban wa ya aike ni, na zo zan kashe mai ne, na kawo na tafi yawon iskanci na. To muka zo dai dan aka sasanta na koma gidan shi. Bayan yarinya ta shekara 2 da rabi sai na kuma samun wani cikin. Da na samu cikin da 2 shine aka ce to a maida ni gida. To shi ya ki yadda a maida ni gida, sai mama na lokacin ina rashin lafiya sosai, a daren da na kira ta sai na ce mata to gani fa ba ni da lafiya amma ina jin wani yanayi a jikina. Sai mama na ta ce gani nan zuwa misalin 12 na dare a daren ranar. Sai ya ga dai numfashi na yana sama sai ya ce min in shirya ya kai ni gidan uwata, shi ya gaji da wannan ciwo, yau lafiya gobe rashin lafiya. To shi dai gaskiya ya gaji ba zai iya ba, gwara in shirya ya kai ni gidan uwata.
I got married with Michael at the age of 18 years. I started battling with issues, a lot of issues in marriage. My husband will go out to drink, come back and start beating me. And anytime I notice that he have taken something, anytime I notice that he takes something, I don't normally approach him because of issue, because small thing, he would like to beat me. So my daughter now went to him and said, Daddy, please, can you help us with your torchlight so that we can dish your food? He now said that you are very stupid. Leave my face. When you are eating, did you collect my torch? That if we will know how we eat the food, we should go and dish his own like that, and there is no light. Truly, I bought a fuel that very evening, you understand, because my friend came with fuel. So I'm waiting for him to come back, at least so that he can on the gen. But because I noticed that he have already drunk, I didn't want to allow him to go to the generator. You understand? I decided that all of us will go to bed like that. So, do you know what happened? He refused to bring out the torchlight, the phone, the handset phone, so that we can use it and dish his food. So I now told my daughter that I can't even see. I can't even come outside because everywhere is dark. That the only thing is she just go and lie down. Even me, I now went to my room and lie down. What the next thing I had is he now barged inside my room. and started breaking things, started that he will kill me and nobody will question him, that he will kill me and no government will even ask him question, that he will tell me that he is the one that used his money to come and marry me, that I'm not the one, that I should stand up on that bed in that darkness and go and fetch his food, which I said I cannot do because my phone is down. You understand? I'm even waiting for him to come home so that we can on charge our phone when he on the gym, without knowing that he will be drunk when he's coming back. He started breaking the doors. You understand? That he's going to kill me. I said, you have been saying it that one day you kill me and nobody will question me, but I just want to tell you that even if you kill me, you cannot lay your hand in any of my properties. That is my name and my children's name that I used and buy the properties, and I build on their name. And even my lawyer knows. I've told my lawyer that you are trying to kill me, that you keep on telling people that you are going to kill me and nobody will question you. You understand? So for you to know that this house now, you understand, that you are trying to kill me and take away with, that the house belongs to my children, and I've told my lawyer. You understand? So that's now provoke him. That is when he noticed, you understand, that his name is not in that paper. He now rush and go and pick up, open the gen, and for him to immediately he rushed to open that gen. He noticed that there is no fuel in the gen. He now checked the gallon and saw the fuel I kept, you understand, beside the gen. That is when he now carried the fuel and pour all over the compound. I need to run. That day I ran, like, in short, they are calling me Oboso in Igbo language, because I couldn't waste time. Immediately I run and pushed the gates. My children followed me. We ran to the neighbor's house. That is where, because I'm tying wrapper, you understand, it's even my neighbor that gave me the wrapper, you understand, and the clothes I put on that day, you understand, because I was shivering, because I couldn't believe myself. He started shouting, neighbors gathered. He said, for me to buy the land and build the house without his name, he's going to burn the house and burn me and the children.
And to talk about it, I have a lawyer, I have a rights activist. She has been doing a lot of work around the women, violence, domestic violence. And what she wants actually is a world where we do not have to have cases of violence anymore, at least to the women. I'm not saying that the men are not victims of violence. Anyway, let's introduce our guest. My guest is Barrister Oluwatoyin Falaye. I know that barrister, but I just have this feeling of putting barrister first, but you put like Esquire more, but you know, it's okay, I'm used to it, and it's not like I'm committing any crime, am I?
No, not at all. It's a title thing, and we're kind of used to it in Nigeria. I personally don't like the title, but it's fine.
All right, all right, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
So domestic violence in Nigeria, it's multifaceted. A lot of people have seen it the right way. Some people have seen it as if it's a norm in the society, which is not okay. So take us through domestic violence, some of the signs, and educate us domestic violence before we get into the intimate partner abuse.
It's quite sad that domestic violence cases has come to like a tipping point. It has become like an epidemic, and we're wondering, how did we get here? Before we go into the nitty-gritty of it, just in the last 5 months, we have pictures of 5 women who have been killed as a result of domestic violence. And when you come to those of us who are in the abuse-safe spaces, we deal with survivors of sexual abuse and domestic violence and other forms of gender-based violence from time to time. And the stories are the same. Silence. The victims are unable to speak. They're unable to break their silence because they've been so caged with so much fear. And then other factors are the fact that they don't know who to talk to, they don't know where to go to, they don't know how the society will respond to somebody like them coming out to say they're going through abuse. So domestic violence thrives in silence. That's a major point, I want us to address. It thrives very well in silence. And if we take it into the subject of the day, which is intimate partner abuse, we realize that abuse has started in the relationship. So people will tell you that the signs are always there. So if you are in a relationship with somebody, for instance, and then you have, let's say, an argument, because you're all humans, right? There will be argument. And then your partner tells you, shut up. When I'm talking, you do not talk. That's a trigger, that's a sign that this person may likely be abusive, you know. And then you're talking, your partner uses foul languages on you, your partner shuts you up at every conversation, your partner feels that you do not have a voice, or you shouldn't be talking when he or she's talking. I'm saying this generically because we're looking at both ways, right? But of course, we cannot take it away from the fact that it tilts more towards women. And this is because of the value system and the patriarchy nature of our society. Already women are made to feel subservient. Women are made to feel they call us the weaker sex. So there's a general notion already around the society, around families, around homes, that believe that women shouldn't be heard. That is why we're even clamoring for the issues we're clamoring for in the Senate, the gender abuse and the rest of that. That is because the women have always been made to feel like they should always be sitting behind. So you realize that domestic violence dates back to, we're talking of the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. One of the reasons why I run an NGO on that aspect is because I grew up watching my foster mother go through abuse in her marriage, you know, and it was more of emotional abuse, which is usually what trickles down to the physical abuse. So an intimate partner would not just wake up one morning and slap his partner. No, they don't start from there. They start from, first of all, messing up with the mind, playing mind games on their partners, controlling their emotions to a point that they are able to separate them from people they could ordinarily open up to. Then they take it down to making sure that they do not have access to monies. So most times you see an intimate partner wanting to control the finances of the other partner, even to the kind of jobs that they do. I've heard of cases where the husband asks the wife to resign for no reason.
Wow.
And you know, this is a country where even if, and on the average, a man is earning $500,000 these days because of the hike in, you know, economy and prices of things in the market and rent, you know that 500,000 could not or may not be able to adequately cater to a family of 6 or 4. So ordinarily, both partners should be working. But most of the partners who tell their wives to stop working is not because they don't need the money. It's because they want to make their wives financially incapacitated. Then they begin to verbally abuse them. So they tell them, like I said, shut up. When I'm talking, you do not talk. I'm the man in this home. You know, and such words begin to seep down. So what the men now do is, at the slightest provocation, they hit the woman.
Okay, like you were saying, you did say that some of these people come nicely. And some of these victims, okay, I heard one of them share their story. One was gone through intimate partner abuse, and she said these people charm you and they seduce you in the beginning, making you all in as if they care about you. Is that true?
I totally agree with that. That's absolutely true, because these people are usually very suave, very sweet talking. Funny enough, they're actually the very handsome guys. That's the honest truth. And you know, because there's nobody that's going to come and ask you out with, hey, you come here, I just want to marry you. So they're going to come with all the sweet talks and the best words and present themselves like the best persons. But honestly, the signs are always there. You know, these things cannot be hidden for too long. But when you look at, when you understudy narcissism, those ones are the crop of people who are actually like experts players in this game. Studies have shown that narcissism has no cure. And it's a medical condition that has no cure. Now, narcissistic people are very controlling. They never tell you that they are wrong. They are very, very authoritative. They just want to be in total control of their partners. And these people switch the very minute. So I've handled this case where this man had you know, violated his wife so much that she was at the brink of committing suicide. She had actually put her 2 kids in the car and was driving to Jabi Lake Mall to commit suicide. And by by the mercies of God, she didn't go through with that plan, but she walked out of that marriage. And we went to NAPTIP to report because there was some other controversial issues. Oh, you stole the car, you didn't steal the car. And then we went to NAPTIP and then we went to FIDA. it was a rude shock when this man walks into the office and began to cry. And we all could not, juxtapose the man who would beat this woman to a pulp and the man who was crying like a baby. And he told us, you all should leave me. I want my wife back. And it was all emotional, and we all left them to have a conversation. But thank God, thankfully, this woman knows who she's dealing with. So she told us, this man is only acting. I know him too well. And so the next day when they had a counseling session of some sort with their pastor, right there in the pastor's office, it hit the wife's head on the floor, and she injured herself.
Oh, wow.
And so you see that these people they are very schemy. They're like game players. So intimate partners know, and they know that their female partners are emotional beings. So they work on their emotions, they run down the emotion, and then just cap their wings under underneath their breath, and they control them. So I totally agree that they come as sweet. They come as sweet as they can be, actually.
So is that why some of these women do not leave a violent relationship?
No, the major reason why women do not leave violent relationship is trauma bonding.
Okay.
Remember, we said this is a husband or a wife or a fiance or a boyfriend you've been in a relationship with for 2-3 years. So this guy today gives you a slap, and tomorrow he buys you a iPhone 13. So they always have a way of balancing the pain that they've caused this person. And these are emotions here. So this minute this man has beat you to a pulp, the next minute he's on the floor begging you, he will never happen again. And then you're thinking, oh, and these people pick their targets. So they go for very vulnerable women, right? They go for women who they know are not as hard-hearted as they are. So I think they pick their targets very carefully. So by the time they do all of that, it is easy for the abused partner to trauma bond with the perpetrator or with the abuser. And so it's also harder for them to break out or to cut off from this person. Then when we now look at other societal issues, such as where do they want to go to? We do not have enough shelters in Nigeria. A typical African parent, once they've married you off, don't want you to come back. They're looking at the stigma. They're looking at people say, oh, their daughter is out of wedlock. What would my pastor say? What would the church say? What would the mosque say? In fact, we are all very particular about what people will say as to our own mental health and mental stability. So most of the time, these people are actually stuck in the place of abuse. And then the silence culture as well. They don't want people to, before we take it to the very extreme cases where it's obvious that the man is violent, let's assume a young man who is married to a young girl. There's a 31-year-old mother of 2 who just died yesterday, who was poisoned by the mother-in-law because the husband's family never liked her. They never wanted the guy to marry her. So this is a young, vibrant 31-year-old who had a beautiful wedding, who has a car, and every other fancy things you can probably think of. And so when abuse begins to happen in the home, she's juxtaposing that with her life on the outside, and she doesn't want her friends to think that she has failed.
And failed marriage.
She has a failed marriage, or she has a home that is not working, because she's posted all of those loved up pictures of herself and her partner and all the beautiful vacations they've had in Seychelles and Bahamas and the Maldives, and then you juxtapose that with a bruised face. So when you see a typical woman who has a red eye or a swollen face, they'll tell you they fell down the stairs. At what point does, intimate partnership, sometimes I ask, at what point does love turn sour?
Exactly.
At what point does a partner who professed so much love to you is the same person who hits you without mercy, and then you think that you're helpless? So most of the time, it is trauma bonding. That's just the word. These people are just so bonded with their intimate partner that sometimes they feel that the abuse is even normal. Then take it again side by side with some women who say that they like it when the men beat them. Have you come across women like that?
That's quite weird, but I have heard something like that, but I find it very difficult to believe.
That one has to do with a biological setup. It's either that person grew up in an abusive home, or was exposed to so much abuse, or has a sense of loss of self-worth. That is some women, because, you know, we all can't be balanced, right? I went through years of abuse. I went through years of sexual molestation. I grew up in abuse, physical, sexual, verbal, you know, psychological. But I also, at some point in my life, realized that that was not who I was. So I always tell my friends that I could have grown up to be a, but I just made this deliberate effort not to be. I just wanted to be right and do right. But you could imagine if I just didn't make that decision, then I would also bleed on other people, and then I would feel that I'm not worthy. So when my partner is abusing me, I would just suck it all in and think that it's my lot or I deserve it.
Now, when you talk about the culture of silence, a lot of people have attributed it to so many factors. One of the main factors is the fact, of course, what people will say. And another one, which is a thing of concern in this part of the world, is if my parent doesn't want me back home, where do I go to? How do you access support if you're a victim of intimate partner abuse or violence?
Accessing support is one of the major issues we're dealing with currently, and that's why some of us who run NGOs and CSOs are trying to provide some form of shelter for survivors of abuse, because most often than not, the truth of the matter is that these people do not have where to go. I've handled a case where this lady ran away from her matrimonial home because the husband would constantly rape her and, you know, abuse her and molest her. And she ran to her mother's house, and the mother was the one who called the husband to come back and pick her. And so this woman eventually was taken to a psychiatric hospital and injected with all kinds of steroids, and was they told the authorities that she was mentally deranged. So we're saying that in Nigeria, and that's why for me, I live within the FCT. My heart breaks each time I'm going around town and I'm seeing a lot of empty houses. Because we need shelter for women, we need shelter for survivors of abuse. Most of the time, they do not have where to go to. That is why they don't want to leave the place of abuse.
And we spoke to someone who experienced a kind of intimate partner abuse. And one of the things the husband kept saying was, you go to court, you're going to stay there for like 10 years and I'll still be in this house, because their case clearly was, okay, you don't want me anymore. I ran out of your house because I do not want to die. But you're still staying in my house. This is a case where the woman is the one providing for the home. And at some point, the men, I don't want to say they're jealous, or it's not jealousy, but you just feel very uncomfortable that the woman is the one providing. And then you take it all out on the woman. That's her case. And he kept saying that you go to court and in 10 years, nothing is said. That is to show that, or that is evident that the judiciary need to do a lot when it comes to handling the cases of domestic violence.
One of the things we're advocating for is specialized courts for cases of abuse and domestic violence related cases. You know, in Lagos State, they have family courts. But unfortunately in Nigeria, most of the family courts are actually dedicated towards divorce. So we are asking for specialized courts where there is speedy judicial proceedings for cases of domestic violence, sexual abuse, and other forms of gender-based violence. Because the truth of the matter is that we have plethora of laws. We have so many laws. We're even advocating for the VAP Act, which is has been domesticated in some states, and we're saying that the VAP Act currently is like the best, you know, or more or less the closest to helping solve these issues, because it deals with a lot of issues around intimate partner violence, you know, up onto harassment, molestation, not just abuse, even rape and all. So it takes it one after the other, and it has its offense and penalties aligned in it. But we have all of these laws. But the truth of the matter is that these cases are tried in the regular courts. And we're saying that just the way you set up electoral courts when there are elections and, you know, within the 90 days you're dispensed with that matter, we need to have specialized courts for cases of domestic violence, gender-based violence, sexual violence, and family matters, so that they are dispensed with. We also need to have trained judges or people who handle these matters, you know, so that there is speedy trial. And then, because sometimes the justice for the victim is not always necessarily for the partner to go to jail. The justice for them sometimes is just for them to get their freedom and just be able to move on with their lives. So sometimes, and like they said, it can go on for 3 years or 4 years or 5 years. But I always advise that that does not mean that an intimate partner or a partner who is going through intimate partner abuse cannot ask for separation. You can ask for separation. The law allows you to be separated for a period of 2 years before you even start the divorce proceedings.
Okay, you've heard, and I would like you to say maybe in 1 minute, give advice to people who are going through some kind of domestic violence. It could be intimate partner violence or abuse. They're multifaceted, like we said in the beginning. And
yes.
you came out of something like this, and you're a lawyer, you're even fighting for the rights of people who have gone through the same process. So a word of advice to people watching right now?
My candid word of advice would be, first of all, break the silence. I know that is hard because it took me 23 years to do so. So it is really hard, but I could also say that I got liberated in 2018 when I came out to speak. Breaking the silence helps also with your healing. Then confide in somebody. There's always somebody who will sympathize with you, or who knows a safe space or a center, or somewhere that your case can be reported to. Because also these partners are like, oh, I don't want people to know it's me and all of that. Acknowledge that you're in trouble and you need help. Once you do that, confide in somebody so that they can help you get the much needed help. There are also a lot of assault referral centers now all over the country. There are helplines, but people do not have the information. That's why we like platforms like this that allow us to let people know that there are sexual assault referral centers, there are domestic violence referral centers, there are NGOs, and then when you go to the police station to report a case of intimate violence and partner violence or domestic violence, please ask for the gender unit. Not all the irregular police stations undo cases of domestic violence. There are gender units specified for that purpose. So, but most importantly is for you to break the silence. You could send an SOS. Most of the cases that we handle are third-party reportage. We just get this from somebody who is not even related to that family. So sometimes send, and thank God we're in the social media age, send an SOS through a medium, a social medium.
Sign like this when maybe your partner...
Yes, and you're in the car, you can just do this and send a signal. But again, not everybody even knows that what this means.
So we're doing it now. Maybe if somebody does this, you know that the person is in trouble.
Yes.
So
you could take the plate number, because sometimes they would just lock, close the windows of the car. And then also when you hear a neighbor scream, that's why I like it outside in other climes. Whenever they hear noise or something unusual from another flat, they call 911 immediately. But in Nigeria, we like to mind our business. But I want to tell you that domestic violence, intimate partner abuse is not a private matter. It is a matter of public opinion. And please help somebody who you might know that is in distress.
Yes, you've heard it. Domestic violence or intimate partner violence or abuse is not a private matter. Don't say, it's their business. They'll put me in between when you interfere. No, it's everybody's business. So let's look out for each other. And that's the much we can take for today. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oluwatoyin Falaye Esquire, for being on the program today.
Thank you so much.
I really learned a lot,
me.
and I'm sure someone who is watching right now has really learned, and we can start helping each other get out of this. At some point, we think that, no, you can never, ever be in that situation. But it has happened to the smartest people in the world. To watch this program again or to watch other episodes of Law and Order, all you have to do is go to our YouTube page. Remember to subscribe and also drop your message. If you have a topic you'd like us to talk about, please drop them on the comment section on all of our social media platforms. I am Martia Umar. Thank you for being a part of the show today.